This man, Hugh Freeze, must. No. He has to have balls of steel because I cannot believe he said that. And to be honest, it is almost like he's throwing a little shot, a little jab at Nick Saban. Woo! Oh man, there is one thing for sure. It hasn't taken your buddy Hugh Freeze long at all to start spicing up things in the SEC. Now, for those of you that haven't heard the news, and honestly, if you haven't heard this news, you gotta be living under a rock. Hugh Freeze is the new head coach at Auburn. They hired him a few days ago. It's starting to settle in with everybody. Some Auburn fans, they love the hire, and I get that. And also, there's a lot of other Auburn fans, they don't like the hire, and I also get that. You're entitled to your own opinion 100%, and I've already told you guys how I feel about it. Did he do some messed up things in the past? Well, duh, the only answer to that question is yes. However, with that being said, it may not be as bad as him, but we've all done some messed up things. We've all messed up. He seems like a changed man, and from everybody that's actually talked to the guy and came into contact with him, they've all told me great things. One of my friends actually played for him up at Liberty for 2 years, and he said nothing but good things about him. And take this how you want. This is what Hugh Freeze said about himself word for word. He stated, "I'm not a bad person, I did a bad thing." And that's a great way to put it. I can't speak for you, but at least for me, I'm all about second chances, and I'm willing to overlook what he did. I'm not here to talk about the past, we're here to talk about football. And when it comes to a football coaching standpoint, I think it's a great hire. I think he fits right in with that Auburn culture. Now, I do gotta say, it is really strange going from a guy like Cadillac Williams, who is all about integrity, great honor, and then going to a guy like Hugh Freeze, who has had the past he's had. It's almost like two different people, but, and I have a big but, we're here to talk about what Hugh Freeze has just done. He has already sent a message to Nick Saban and his wife, Miss Terry, and some people would label this as throwing shots. And to be honest, it is almost like he's throwing a little shot, a little jab at Nick Saban. When I first saw it, my immediate reaction was, why would you even say that or bring it up? I don't know. I am extremely curious. I want your thoughts on this down below. We're going to talk all about that. Also get some minor other topics to talk about in this video. All right, Matt, blah, 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 shut the crap up. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. Alrighty, first things first, trust me, I want to get into this Hugh Freeze, what he said about Nick Saban stuff, but I gotta talk about this. On Twitter, Kalen Roby, or maybe it's Robbie, sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, he said, "Yo, Matt, I've seen you talking about Hugh Freeze at Auburn and Matt rolled to Nebraska, but how have you not said anything at all about how Wisconsin just stole Luke Fickell from Cincinnati?" Shout out to my man, because that is a great question, and to be honest with you, I haven't heard anybody else talking about it, and when I saw that tweet, that was the first I've heard about it. So of course, like always, when I saw that tweet, I started doing some research myself, and yeah, coming to find out, Luke Fickell's going to Wisconsin, and I can't believe, yeah, some people are talking about it, but I just haven't seen it. Like, for example, what has been the talk of the town the past couple of days? The playoff. Where's Ohio State going to be, and where's Alabama going to be? Also, to go along with that, Nebraska, they've been trending. Hugh Freeze has been trending, but I haven't seen this. Here's the thing with Luke Fickell leaving Cincinnati. I think everybody knew eventually this day would come. Come on now, I know Wisconsin had a terrible season this year, but let's not try to act like Cincinnati's on the level of a Wisconsin. The bottom line is Cincinnati isn't a Power 5 team. I know eventually, maybe down the road with all this realignment going on in these conferences, they will be, but for right now, Wisconsin's a better job. With guys like Luke Fickell, I believe, or at least I want to believe, he wants to compete for national championships. He wants to compete for Big Ten championships, and in Cincinnati, you couldn't do that. Whoa. Hold on. I already know what people are about to run to the comment section. Well, Matt, at Cincinnati, he made the playoffs. Yes, I get it, but we all know a large reason for that is because he was playing in an easy conference. There's not too much to say about this. Wisconsin, that's a great program to take over. I don't think it's going to take 2 or 3 years to rebuild it. With the transfer portal and the NIL, Wisconsin could go 10-2 next year. Heck, we saw Lincoln Riley do the same thing with USC. Took them from 4-8 to a playoff basically at this point. Wisconsin fans should be extremely excited about this hire, and you could argue that this may be a better hire than Matt rolled to Nebraska. I hope it works out because college football, it is just better when Nebraska, Wisconsin, and more teams outside of Ohio State and Michigan in the Big Ten are relevant. I'll leave it at that for now. I'm excited to see what he's going to do, and I also think there's going to be a lot of pressure there because Wisconsin fans, they're a strong fan base. They're not going to be okay with going 7-5 or even 8-4. You gotta win 10 games a year. Or maybe not 10 games a year, but most seasons at least. I did want to speak on that. Thank you once again for the question. If there's anything going on in the college football world and you notice I haven't talked about it, just shoot me a tweet and more than likely, we'll talk about it. It's as simple as that. We gotta get a move on though to the main topic of the main encore, the main reason you clicked onto this video, Hugh Freeze and Nick Saban. Oh man, if you're an SEC fan, you already know what the conversation is with Hugh Freeze and Saban. It's interesting. I would say a main reason, if not the only reason people give Hugh Freeze credit is because he beat Nick Saban in back-to-back seasons. And hey, I'll be the first to tell you, I got no problem with giving a guy credit just for doing that because it's rare to do. And may I remind some of y'all, when Ole Miss beat Nick Saban in back-to-back years, I believe it was 2014 and 2015. Yeah, I'm almost 99% sure on that. Ole Miss wasn't even near as talented as Alabama. And in one of those years in 2015, when Ole Miss beat Bama, that Bama team went on to win the championship. Now don't get it twisted, Ole Miss, they do have talent, but they don't have the talent like a Georgia or Bama, and I think everybody knows that. Now though, with Hugh Freeze going to Auburn and Auburn having to play Alabama, not just play Alabama, but Auburn and Alabama being big time rivals, it makes the matchup more intriguing. Everybody has their own perception of Hugh Freeze, but I view him nothing more as Gus Malzahn 2.0. That's all he is to me. Look at Gus Malzahn. He was a decent coach. Sometimes he was a really good coach who's going to go 8-4, 9-3, 10-2, and you may have a special year where you go 12-1 or, 11-1 every now and then. I thought Gus Malzahn did a fine job at Auburn because when you broke it down, nobody beat Nick Saban more than Gus Malzahn in the SEC. But for some reason, and I've said this before, I'm going to say it again, Auburn has unreal expectations. The athletic director and boosters want to believe they can one day get to the level of a Georgia or an Alabama, but it's not possible. It's just not possible. Now, yes, don't get me wrong. Can Auburn compete for a championship or win a championship every 1 out of 8, 1 out of 7 years? Yes. But can they do it consistently? Absolutely not. I am very curious about this. Let me know your thoughts down below because everybody has mixed feelings about it. In my humble opinion, the Auburn head coach, if he's going 8-4, 9-3, 10-2, maybe you got a lucky year where you go 11-1, and maybe you have a bad year where you go 7-5, that should be good enough. It doesn't just stop there. Also, the Auburn head coach must, and this is just a must, everybody knows this, you got to beat Alabama, I'd say, every 1 out of 4 years. At this current moment in time, with Nick Saban still being there and the dynasty continuing to go on, saying beating Alabama every 1 out of 3 years, that's a little too much. If you can just beat Bama every 1 out of 4 years, maybe you beat them every 2 out of 4 years, go 9-3, 10-2, that's awesome. But, and I have a big but, that's the problem. Apparently, that's not good enough. And if you don't think it's good enough, look at what Gus Malzahn did. He did exactly what I just said. I mean, heck, Gus Malzahn dang near won a championship and they fired the guy. Anyways, getting a move on. Sorry for the rambling. I'll talk more about that in just a second. In one of Hugh Freeze's interviews, one of the first interviews he's done as Auburn's head coach, check out what he had to say. Hugh Freeze stated, quote unquote, "I have great respect for Nick, and he and Miss Terry have been really good friends to us too, but I hope they're a little nervous today." The first part's fine, him saying he has great respect for Nick and Miss Terry, but it's the last part where it leaves me scratching my head. I'm like, why would you say that? You gotta remember, guys, and I know we have girl viewers, shout out to all my females that watch the channel and keep up with college football. Hugh Freeze is not inheriting a really great football team. This team sucks. Look, I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. This Auburn team is flat out pitiful. They have no talent on that roster. And if you think I'm lying, go watch the Iron Bowl. The fact that Auburn played a good game and lost by 20 should tell you everything you need to know. This Auburn football team is pathetic. I told you since day one, Brian Harsin was not the guy, and I got a lot of backlash for it, but it turned out I was right. But still, even with me thinking Brian Harsin is this overrated head coach and I knew he was going to fail at Auburn, I gotta cut the guy some slack because nobody was gonna win with that roster last year or this current season. I want you to think about this. Auburn lost at home to Penn State, of all teams. Penn State by 30 points. I'll give you a great example. Alabama this year, they're a good team. They're not a great team, they're a good team, but there's a lot of flaws. With Alabama, you can point to certain spots on the field and say, okay, that's our weakness. But with Auburn, everywhere on that field, everywhere on that team, it's a weakness. And I know what some of you are going to say, well, Matt, Tank Bigsby, he's awesome. He's one of the best running backs in the country, and I agree. But last time I checked, Tank Bigsby isn't the entire running back room. You need at least 2 or 3 good backs. The Auburn running back room, not that good. The quarterback room, one of the worst in the SEC. The defense is flat on awful. The offensive line is pitiful, and you have no wide receivers. I say that to say this. Hugh Freeze realizes he's inheriting this bad team. He's not dumb. He's pretty much been coaching for a long time. time, and yet he continued to say that he hopes Nick Saban in Alabama, or really Nick Saban and Miss Terry, is nervous. This man, Hugh Freeze, must, no. He has to have balls of steel, because I cannot believe he said that. Let me ask y'all a question. Why would Nick Saban be nervous about Auburn football? Let me ask you another question. Do y'all really think Nick Saban's nervous about any football team? No, he's the greatest of all time. Last time I checked, Nick Saban's got, what, 6 national titles? Trust me, I can promise you, I can guarantee you this. Take it to the bank. The last team that Saban is worried about is Auburn. If anything, he's worried about a team like Georgia. Auburn, heck to the no. Let me make this clear. I don't think what Hugh Freeze said, it's some outlandish statement and he's out of bounds. It's more so of, this guy has 0 national titles and he's only talking because he beat Nick Saban twice. In one of those games, it was Alabama's own fault that Ole Miss won because they had 5 turnovers. You can also take this to the bank. I guarantee you that is bulletin board material that Nick Saban's going to throw up in that locker room before the game next year. Nervous. Nick Saban, nervous to play Auburn. Come on, man. I could go on and on. This video has already been way too long. Let me know your thoughts down below. But,